Hello friends and welcome. It's the start of the most wonderful time of the year and it's time to get your shakety shake on. In today's video, I'm sharing how I created this set of Christmas shaker tags I made using some of the new Holtz Sizzix Christmas dies. As soon as I saw the Christmas bold text and framed tags, I immediately knew that some shakety shake shaker tags were in my future. For these tags, I'm using the frame tags Thinlits. This set comes with 3 tags and 3 reinforcer options. I began with the medium-sized tag and die cut it using the technique Tim shared when he released the vintage labels Thinlits. For that technique, he inked the die and then die cut it to get a letterpress effect. I made sure to clean the die thoroughly with rubbing alcohol and then inked the die with vintage photo archival ink using a rubber brayer. I carefully placed the ink dye onto the smooth side of a piece of distressed watercolor paper and ran it through my die cutting machine. And voila, I have the look of a letterpress tag. After die cutting the tag, I applied Distress Spray Stain and Uncharted Mariner and Speckled Egg to my craft mat, spritzed it with water, and smushed the tag into the ink. I then dried the ink using my heat tool. You could also do the same technique using Distress ink pads. Once the ink was dry, I added some stamping using the Sketch Greenery stamp set. I positioned the tag into my stamping tool and then positioned one of the Greenery pieces on the right side of the tag and stamped it using vintage photo archival ink. I stamped it twice to get a good impression since I was working on the watercolor paper. I then flipped the tag around and stamped the image on the left side of the tag. Next, I positioned the Winter Wishes die from the Christmas bold text Thinlits in the center of the tag and used some mint tape to hold it in place as I ran it through my die cutting machine. Now it's time to create the shaker part. First, I cut a piece of acetate to just slightly smaller than the tag and adhered it to the back side of the tag. I recommend using some sort of double-sided tape for this step. After you adhere the acetate, you can trim off any excess if needed. Next, I adhered strips of double-sided foam tape around the outside edge of the tag to create the shaker box. As you trim the tape, you want to make sure that you don't have any gaps as you create the box so that none of the shaker filler can fit through and fall out. I also added some foam tape to the bottom and top edges so that the tag would be the same thickness all the way across. With the shaker box completed, I die cut another tag to use as the back side of the shaker. I hadn't cleaned off the die, so you can see a little bit of the ink on the paper. That won't matter though, because it won't show once the shaker is assembled. To fill the shaker, I used a mix of sequins from Sizzix, but feel free to use whatever sequins, beads, or other fillers you have on hand. If you end up using beads, you may need to add another layer of foam tape so that there is enough space for them to move around once the shaker is assembled. Here I'm filling the shaker box with the mix of sequins. Once I had the shaker filled, I pulled back a little bit of the liner on some of the foam tape, lined up the other tag, and adhered it into those couple of spots. I then removed the other liners and pushed down to fully adhere the back tag. If you don't get things lined up just perfectly, you can use your scissors to trim off any excess. To finish off the tag, I added one of the hole reinforcers, which I die cut and inked to coordinate with the tag. I also added some custom colored crinkle ribbon I made using Hug Snug seam binding. To dye the ribbon, I used Uncharted Mariner and Speckled Egg Distress Spray Stains, which are the same ones I used to ink the paper. To create the ribbon, I cut a length of it and placed it inside a plastic bag. I then sprayed the ink and a bit of water into the bag and squished it around until the ribbon was covered with ink. Once the ribbon was covered with ink, I carefully removed it from the plastic bag and dried it with my heat tool. If you don't want ink all over your fingers, you can use tweezers or even wear rubber gloves. If you want the crinkled look, make sure to keep the ribbon wadded up as you dry it. And there you have it, a Christmas shaker tag using the new Tim Holtz framed tags and Christmas bold text Thinlits. This video shares with you how I created the blue tag. I also created a green and red version using the same techniques, but with different colors of spray stains. For those details and more photos, make sure to check out my coordinating blog post, which is linked in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching. I'm truly grateful for you. I was wondering if you could do me a quick favor and subscribe to my channel or leave me a thumbs up or a comment. If you're feeling extra generous, I'd love for you to share about my channel with your friends. All of these things help out us YouTubers so much, and it would mean so much to me to have your support.